The U.S. Air Force's biggest aircraft, C-5 Galaxy Lockheed, the biggest military aircraft carrier in the arsenal, is one of the U.STOP teams. Hello and welcome to KYC News. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. World's largest aircraft, with the being able to absorb 50 tons of main battle tanks and place them atop an additional planetary, the Galaxy is a crucial component of the world's logistical system. John Leland, an Air Force historian, noted the C-5 represented size, power, and might. Tremendous splendor of the American Air Force was used and is still used today. For 50 years, the Galaxy is preserved. Military allies of the United States and distant scientists well-fed in the farthest reaches of the planet and will continue to provide the services for the near future is difficult to comprehend. To comprehend the extreme immensity of the C-5M is the most recent variant. It is 12 feet longer at 247 feet than a civilian Airbus A380 Super Jumbo. It is a jetliner with a 222.8 wingspan. Feet, each wing measuring of the aircraft stands 65 feet tall. Comparable to 6.5 feet, the Galaxy's half-story building is so astronomical, it cannot fit within many. The C-5 fits some hangars, but not always. The Air Force just cuts a hole inside. Whale hole in the sliding glass doors when it is formed like a tail and sticks out. Only stands outside. The C-5 was intended to more cargo than any other aircraft. More than a quarter can be lifted by the C-5M. Million pounds, as well as the roughly 34,000 cubic foot of cargo one tank can fit inside the bay. 840, 4746 or 6 helicopters out of 24 million ping-pong paddles. Massive airplane can travel 5,524 miles with 120,000 pounds of freight without mid-air refueling and refueling. The C-5 has a nearly limitless range. The C-5 Galaxy's Cold War tank mover began with the demand for the Air Force desired a vehicle that could carrying all the gear required for a U.S. Army division located in the middle of world when the times transportation, the C-130 Hercules, and Wright. Now the enormous C-141 Starlifter, now extinct, simply unable to handle the majority. A crucial component, the new M60 main combat. The M60 tank measured 30 feet by 10 feet. The Air Force stood 50 tons high. Published a call for a new super heavy transport aircraft CXLHS and established performance objective of transporting 104,500 foot distance in pounds, reached a speed of 440 knots. The aircraft not only the ones who could accomplish it, biggest aircraft in the U.S. Armed Forces nonetheless. The largest aircraft in the military. It was an exciting time in American history. A time in history when the nation could easily financing a moon race for the Vietnam War, aiming to construct the largest aircraft. Boeing, Douglas, and Lockheed have ever contended for the job. Following after a 6-month review process, Lockheed agreement to produce 58 of the cargo aircraft, although General Electric won the engine competition contract. The C-5 and in today's money would cost $268 million for each. The proposal from Boeing wasn't wasted. Ultimately lead to the 747 civilian. The C-5A was an ambitious airliner. Aircraft Lockheed specifications required an airplane that can transport an exterior 250,000 pound or 125 ton load. 3,200 miles is the distance with a payload of 100,000 pounds and no fuel. The C-5A's maximum range was 5,300 miles, sufficient to take off from Dover Air Force Base in Delaware to the airbase in Torres, Portugal, Spain, or Travis Air Force Base from California to the Japanese base at Yokota. The C-5 was anticipated to travel further, more cargo, faster with fewer people. General planes. In 1965, Howard Estes, Air Force Commander, Military Air Transport Service of the Force, stated the C-5 would have accelerated significantly. Operation Heavy Lifting and Exercise 15,500 flights. We send American soldiers to Germany. 234 aircraft, each a C-118 and C-124 flying a single mission and finishing the compare lift in 63 hours. Estes stated in only 42 C-5AS, the same task the C-5A would be able to run for 13 hours. Landing on airfields that aren't ready greater than 4,000 feet after the custom of naming aircraft by Lockheed following celestial bodies and objects the airliner was given a name by the corporation. Galaxy's hurried cargo. The plane's cargo box measures 13.5 inches. 143.7 feet high, 19 feet broad, and feet long, which equals 34. 734 cubic meters, what see 5 feet of cargo space. Maintenance worker X calls a warehouse and wings outlived the cargo aircraft can and the M60 main battle tank carry 2 M1A2 Abrams, in theory. Tanks, even though 50% of them are Abrams heavier than the maximum cargo for the C-5. Alternatively, a C-5 can support 350 pounds. 6 individuals and 6 A-60s in all. Helicopters Black Hawk and 6 M2 Bradley battling cargo loading vehicles and escaping the Galaxy is much simpler than it looks. The bulbous nose of the C-5 is movable, allowing it to ascend over the cockpit and provide the cargo box complete access. The Knight's visor is the moniker for this. A ramp at the back of the aircraft enables ground employees to directly operate vehicles where they are attached onto the aircraft to minimize burden shifting during flight. The landing gear on an airplane, and 28 using hydraulics, landing wheels can kneel to the vehicle bed's height, enabling the load instantly offloaded from the aircraft to the. Despite its size, the waiting truck's tiny crew of a pilot and co-pilot to 3 flight engineers loadmasters. The aircraft's maximum range can go 7,000 miles without having to refuel, meaning that it frequently has multiple crews. It includes up to 15 remedy provisions. 75 extra crew members can be accommodated. Passengers seated in aircraft not included in the cargo area. Perhaps a more advanced aircraft might be the craziest C-5 Galaxy variant ever. The L-500 was once intended to be a commercial airliner with room for an 844 passengers, an amazing 50% more than a military version of the Airbus 380 of today, for which the C-5 was designed. Performance over price and fuel efficiency, as well as the aircraft being too pricey for even though there were some commercial DLs. Interest from the big airlines. Ironically, 500 were pushed out of the same aircraft civilian market beat in the market for military airlifters despite its restricted capacity. The Boeing 747. The C-5 Galaxy's commercial potential still remaining strong 50 years after its, notwithstanding the fact that it is no longer the 56 remain of the largest plane in the world. Big Five still in operation. Several of these aircraft improved to the C-5M standard with commercial engines, with new F-138 improved power, fuel economy, and dependability in LCDs, with all-glass technology, a new autopilot system with GPS navigation and an inertial ring laser, a flight that is all-weather navigable control system, new engine, and flight. The C-5 instrument suite is very large. An aircraft having such a significant historical, it has evolved into a flying metaphor. The C-5M of American military might. The Mega Galaxy is anticipated to stay in service to at least 2040, when there will eventually be a need for a newer, very likely a larger aircraft. Thank you for watching and see you on next video.